measure the productivity of a remote worker. Are you looking for ways to measure the productivity of your remote staff? If so, this video is for you. First, we'll understand the number one mistake that employers make when measuring productivity. Next, we're going to see what you need to do to set the stage for a more productive workforce. Lastly, we're going to uncover the things that you can measure to see how productive your team is remotely. You ready to get started? Let's go. I have to start off by saying that this video is going to make some people uncomfortable, especially if you've been managing teams for 20 plus years. So bear with me. My whole goal is to future-proof you and make you feel more comfortable, so there's no judgment. Also know that I believe that everyone that's watching this video right now has positive intentions, and that's why we're interested in learning how to better measure our remote workforce. So with that having been said and understanding we're all coming from a place of positive intention, I have to say that the first thing that has to happen for us to measure productivity is for us to actually measure productivity. To measure the productivity of our remote workforce, it requires us to measure their outcomes versus the number of hours they spend producing. So in yesteryear, we measured productivity basically by saying, these are our goals and you work 8 hours a day. Or if you're in management, you work 10, 12 hours a day, whatever that looks like. But we were very much dead set on you working a certain amount of hours. But the question is, if you wanted someone to produce 10x output in 8 hours a day, if we see that with remote workers, they're actually creating 10x output in 6 hours a day, are they actually being less productive because we don't see them working those other 2 hours? They're not. They're more efficient in that environment. And so if we're really measuring productivity, we're not concerned that they're not working all those hours. We're concerned with the output. And this is something that's very much more new age because a lot of our more traditional bosses were taught to believe you work a certain amount of time. Now, right now, some of us are experiencing cognitive dissonance. I can feel it coming through the video. So some of you are a little irritated that I said that, and I can respect that. It's a shift from how we've been taught. But also understand that the workplace of the future, the younger millennials and the Gen Zs, they're not willing to work 60 and 80 hours a week if they can produce the outcomes in less time. They're not so much about sitting at a desk for X amount of time. Now, I'm going to share something because I'm a millennial. Now, I don't know if you can tell I'm an old millennial, but I'm still a millennial. So I'm like one of the millennials that has like a mortgage and a husband. I'm like a boring millennial. But if you doubt my millennialness, stick a piece of avocado toast in front of me and see what happens. I'm going to tear that bad boy up because apparently that's our food, right? My point is this. I'm a millennial. I worked in corporate America for years, and it used to drive me crazy to see my baby boomer bosses that were very much dead set on everybody working certain hours of the day. Now, sometimes I would ask for permission to come in at a crazy hour. I'd say, can I come in at 6 in the morning? And I normally needed to be there at 8. Can I come in at 5 in the morning? And he would say, okay. I'd get there that early and I would get so much done. It wasn't just a shifting from coming in 2 hours early to leaving 2 hours early. It was literally coming in 2 hours early. And then honestly, I could have left 4 hours early because that's how much more efficient I was. But I knew that I couldn't take off those extra 2 hours in the shaving, so I could only move it up. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying right here. And so we have to understand that people are more productive in different environments. I get more done in my home space than I do in any type of formalized office. I've always been that way. My brain fires off. There's less interruptions from people outside, less chatty Cathy's coming by, just wanted to talk it out. And mind you, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have those conversations at work. We want to build camaraderie and teamwork, and that's how a lot of cool, innovative ideas happen. But right now, we're talking about productivity, and productivity has to do with outputs. And so again, if we're going to measure our remote workforce, we really do have to focus on their outputs if we're seriously measuring productivity. So now that we've identified what it means to be productive, we're focusing on those outputs, we're committing to being open, even if it makes us uncomfortable that we're not measuring hours worked, the next step is set clear-cut goals. So if you want to measure outputs and you need to change the outputs or whatever that is so that, or just establish the outputs so that they're somehow measurable by number, Go ahead and tell them what you need to happen. What are they graded on? What needs to be completed on a daily basis, or what percentage of the project needs to be completed within this amount of time? Let them know what the measurement is. And if you see that they're getting these things done in less amount of time than what it used to take when they were in the office, or if they get it done in a less amount of time than their peers who are in the office, do not move the goalpost. So don't then just say, okay, well, now we need you to do this much output because we see that you can do more in less time. Because what'll happen is now that employee is going to experience less loyalty towards you because they feel like you're not being fair. They're not being rewarded for actually being efficient in their production. I want you to keep in mind that people are not oranges. We are not trying to squeeze every single little bit of juice out of them. That is a very old way of thinking, and it's not holding any sway in today's world, okay? So we want to give people some time and reward them. If they're going to get more done in less time, then enjoy your extra time. We love that you're getting these things done here. We want you to continue working for our company because we know that if we don't get it, another company that understands the importance of their output will welcome them with open arms. Do you know someone who is struggling with measuring productivity of their remote staff, and maybe their kind of old school way of thinking? Feel free to share this video along. Maybe it'll illuminate how they can shift so that they can ensure that they're future-proof moving forward and their employees actually continue to increase productivity even if they're not actually spending more time on the job. So what can we measure? We can measure things like output, depending on what kind of work that they're doing. They might actually be producing something. We can measure their ability to meet deadlines. Are they actually hitting the deadlines already established? We can measure customer satisfaction, and we can even have assessments done by their team members. Another option is also self-assessments. How do they feel they're doing in the process? Instead of trying to hold people to an old way of doing business, measuring these types of things are more likely to produce positive outcomes, positive feelings from the employee. In addition to that, just greater productivity in general. So what can help you in measuring these items? Well, number one, project management software. There's thousands of different programs you can use, but having some type of software that manages projects might be one option that can help you. Regular check-ins with your remote team, reviewing customer feedback on a schedule, so not just randomly, but maybe once a month or once a quarter, reviewing the feedback that they're getting from customers. And lastly, we can measure people on if they're completing their training and development goals. So it's not always just enough to produce the things they're producing at work, but if we want our companies to be future-proof, we need to ensure that our team members are undergoing continuous learning, not overwhelming them, but we do have goals set for them so that we want them to complete certain programs within a certain amount of time. That is included within productivity as well, even if they're remote. What cannot help us in measuring the efficiency of our remote workers? Simply measuring the amount of time that they're on their computers. Installing spyware so that we see if they're typing on their computers every moment. We've already talked about they have things like mouse movers and all kinds of technology. No matter how advanced the spy software gets, there will always be people who are motivated to create software that outpaces that'll show their bosses that they're still working. So you're playing a losing battle, and you don't want to play that way anyways because you actually want to measure output. Speaking of measurements, you're probably looking for ways to future-proof your organization. That's why you're interested in measuring the productivity of your remote workforce. You're going to notice in the description of this video, you see a link to download the Future Ready Playbook. This playbook is chock full of activities and worksheets that will help you future-proof yourself, your career, and your organization. Take a moment to download it today.